billion to government-funded investment accounts called Trump accounts for 25 million U.S. children. We'll discuss this and more of today's top stories. I'm Ernie Manous.
And I'm Celeste Diaz-Sherman. Early voting has begun for Houston City Council's at-large position for runoff. You will hear candidates Dwight, Boykins, and Alejandra Salinas as we revisit our conversations with each of them.
And I'm Frank Billingsley, plus Meow Wolf's Gray and Alexandra Renzo will join to spotlight their new interactive and immersive show experience, Phenomenomaly.
Also, we want to hear from you. Give us a call or send us a text at 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. You can also watch us live on YouTube by going to houstonpublicmedia.org.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. The Trump administration is standing by its campaign of targeting and killing the crews of small boats accused of smuggling drugs from South America to the United States. However, questions are mounting about the legality of those strikes, and critics say they believe a war crime was committed in at least one such encounter on September 2nd. It's still unclear who exactly gave each order to use deadly force, even though Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has been visibly at the forefront of the overall campaign. NPR's Deirdre Walsh reports on Hegseth's account during President Trump's cabinet meeting yesterday about the September 2nd deadly strikes in the Caribbean.
He said he gave the initial order to strike the boat and then said he learned the details about the second strike a couple of hours later, and said it was a decision made by Admiral Frank Bradley, who leads U.S. Special Operations Command. While Hegseth stressed he personally didn't make the call for a follow-on strike, he said Bradley had the complete authority to do so.
NPR's Deirdre Walsh. The Kremlin says some aspects of the latest U.S. proposal for ending the war in Ukraine are unacceptable, but Russia remains open to further talks. This follows 5 hours of high-level discussions in Moscow yesterday involving Russian President Vladimir Putin, President Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff, and Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. Here's NPR's Charles Maines.
Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov rejected the idea Russia had dismissed the U.S. peace plan outright, saying Putin's give and take over U.S. proposals was a normal part of the negotiating process. Peskov said Moscow remained open to future meetings to narrow differences, but that Russia preferred diplomacy out of the public eye. The comments came after a late-night marathon meeting between Putin and White House envoys Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner at the Kremlin failed to reach a compromise. The Americans had sought Putin's support for a revised U.S. peace plan for Ukraine, one that included more input from Ukraine and Europe after an earlier draft was criticized as heavily weighted in Russia's favor. Charles Maines, NPR News, Moscow.
Republican Matt Van Epps is the winner of a special election for a U.S. House seat in Tennessee. The race drew millions of dollars in outside spending and national attention as well. NPR's Stephen Fowler reports Democrats are also claiming a victory of sorts.
President Trump won Tennessee's 7th congressional district last November by about 22 percentage points. This week, Matt Van Epps won by 9. After super PACs from both parties poured millions of dollars into this high-profile contest, Democrats say the 13-point overperformance by their candidate Afton Bain is a good sign for 2026. In 60 state legislative and congressional special elections this year, Democrats have improved from their 2024 margins by an average of 13%. Stephen Fowler, NPR News.
At last check on Wall Street, the Dow Jones Industrial Average was up 221 points. This is NPR News.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Alexandra Hart. Several school districts are being sued by a coalition of advocacy groups over the display of the 10 Commandments in classrooms. The class action suit was brought against 16 school districts in Texas, including Katy, Clear Creek, Deer Park, Pearland, and Magnolia ISDs. Courts have already barred Conroe, Houston, Fort Bend, and Cypress Fairbanks from displaying the posters. This latest court filing is part of an ongoing effort by the ACLU and other groups who are saying the new state law, SB 10, violates the Constitution. It's the first class action lawsuit and third lawsuit overall that the ACLU has filed against the law. The city of Houston is launching a first-of-its-kind firearm injury dashboard. It tracks clinical data, first responder data, and mortality records for firearm injuries. News 88.7's Michael Adkison reports.
The Firearm Injury Dashboard is live on the Houston Health Department's website now, and the advocates behind it say it reveals a troubling trend. While overall firearm-related injuries that resulted in hospitalization have gone down over the last 4 years, unintentional shootings of children and young adults are becoming more prevalent. Here's Houston City Council member Abby Kamen, who led the effort.
There's about a 70% gap between hospital visits and what we have in terms of police reports, revealing hundreds of injuries a year, people who we couldn't help because we didn't know about it.
The dashboard will be updated quarterly throughout the year. This year, emergency departments report 1,874 people came with gunshot injuries across Houston. I'm Michael Adkison, News 88.7.
Houston-based oil company Citgo will be acquired by Amber Energy for $5.9 billion. A judge recently approved the sale after a lengthy court battle. Citgo's parent company is owned by the Venezuelan government and is being sold to pay off its debts. According to Reuters, Venezuelan Vice President Delcy Rodriguez says the country rejects the sale. I'm Alexandra Hart. You're listening to News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from ARM. On the latest episode of Tech Unheard, ARM CEO and host Renee Haas talks to Jayshree Ulal, host of cloud networking company Arista Networks, about how tech and AI are helping to shape the future of computing.
Live from the University of Houston, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's your host for Hello Houston, Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
Hello, Houston.
Hump Day.
It is
Hump Day.
Wednesday, December 3rd. Oh, my goodness. It's been that type of week, I tell you what.
12/3.
12/3, 2025. We are just flying through this month. Before we know it, it's going to be 2026.
I've got a quick question for you, Frank, that takes us right into weather, though, because I thought about this the other. Is this it now? Are we in cold, or are we going to get like shocked with a 90-degree day coming up in a few weeks?
Not 90. We won't see 90 again probably until May, but it's possible in April. But yes, 80s. A lot of times January and early February get really hot.
Yeah.
Yes. A lot of people forget back in 2021 when we had Winter Storm Uri.
Yes.
We were the first part of February around 80 degrees.
See, that's what I was thinking.
It was
yeah.
9, So
I will never forget that storm because I had a little baby Philip. And
oh yeah.
It was very scary.
Yeah,
yes.
Very scary. So we'll see, but
So we're going to stay cool for a bit.
For a bit, but we already have a warming trend. It was cold this morning, 50 and cloudy, just a raw day. But I think we're going to see 60s for highs and then continue to warm up a little bit as we go into the next several days. So,
well,
however, we have another storm issue for tomorrow.
Oh.
So
okay.
So Wednesday night, tonight, and tomorrow, the rain chances are there, especially tomorrow. Mm-hmm. So a lot like we had just the other day. And it looks like that will probably go right on into Friday. And then we're cool-ish. Right. 50s, 40s, but not 30s.
And no rain on the weekend, is that right?
It looks like it'll clear nicely for Saturday and Sunday.
Got a tree lighting there.
Oh, you have your tree lighting.
Ernie has
it's not mine. It's the city's tree lighting. I'm just going to be there. But
What about you? What are you doing this weekend?
I'm actually working at my daughter's elementary school. We're going to have a garden day. We're going to do hot cocoa and churros. And we planted all of these different seeds, and we did the fall harvest through Urban Harvest. Mm-hmm. And now we're going to actually pull them.
I love churros.
Same, and that's kind of
how
my
do you
thing.
grow churros? That's what I thought. That's a plant I could get behind.
A lot of cinnamon and sugar.
Yes, all the yummy things.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, I ask about the heat and the cold because it's like always, when do I put the electric blanket on my mom's bed? And it just seems like such a chore to get it out and plug it in. So I'm like, she's been cold. And I'm like, maybe I'll have to put it out tonight. Wow. But if it's going to warm up, I'm just not going to bother.
Don't pick Ernie as your caregiver. Just saying.
In the holiday
I will say,
season.
though, Adele always looks very nice. So that is one thing Ernie's mom always looks
And I
On point.
cannot take credit for that. I have to thank the women that work with us and help my mom. She has a couple of very good caregivers who make sure she always. That's how I gauge if she's being taken care of. Does she look presentable? Then they're obviously taken care of her. There's probably better guidelines.
Nice.
Anyway, we've got a lot coming up on today's show. We did mention over the last couple days, early voting has begun, and so we're going to hear back from the two candidates who are in the at-large position. They're going to be. We'll be sharing with them so you know when you go to the polls who you're voting for. Something to help you out there.
And don't forget,
right.
we're on YouTube.
Yes, be sure. You can go watch us live on YouTube by going to HoustonPublicMedia.org.
They're already there. They're loving the cold weather.
Yes, they are. And
Finally get to use the fireplace.
we're trying to come up with a name for them, for that group out
For
there.
us, we're all a community.
All of us, but so we can address you as a name. So start sharing your thoughts.
The Hello
over
Houston YouTubers.
But you know, yesterday we talked about Giving Tuesday.
Yeah.
And one family really took Giving Tuesday to the next level.
You're taking us into headlines.
Billionaires Michael and Susan Dell pledged $6.25 billion yesterday to provide 25 million American children 10 and under an incentive to claim the new investment accounts for children created as part of President Donald Trump's tax and spending legislation. The couple made the announcement alongside the president, who wrote on social media following the announcement, "Two great people. I love Dell." That was President Trump who wrote on social media. And we want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on these, quote, Trump accounts? Now is the time to join us on Hello Houston. You can give us a call or send us a text, 713-440-8870.
I think it's a great idea. Remember the 529s that were so popular in Texas?
Yes.
And I don't know where they are now, but
I think there is still a program in Texas where you can invest early on and you get certain tax deductible.
Well, it's a nice blend of capitalism and socialism. You have to have the capital to contribute to these accounts.
Yeah.
But whenever we come together as a society to try to educate our young people, that's a great socialist idea, and we should do it. It shouldn't just be for private school people.
My concern in this, if in fact everything was fair, everything was evil, everything was kept, this is a great bonus for families to take advantage of. The problem I feel is so many services are currently being cut where people we've seen with this budget, it cuts on healthcare, it cuts on food source, it cuts on funding that's out there for underserved communities. To then take this huge chunk of money and put it into these savings accounts, bravo for putting money into the savings accounts, but first let's lift up our communities, then let's do the additional.
Well,
that's where I kind
the
of come in.
structure, essentially, of the way they are giving is unusual because essentially it builds on the Trump accounts program.
Right.
And
I'm speaking more to the Trump account part of it.
Right. And so I think that initially when you look at this, obviously, yes, this is a great move. We want to be promoting education and financial responsibility and literacy as financial literacy for families. So kudos, but at the same time, you're also making it, to me, it feels a little political, a little politically charged.
Because they're called Trump accounts, maybe?
They're called Trump accounts. So on that side, there are, to Ernie's point, there are a lot of local nonprofits. We've seen the food bank. There are a lot of other local nonprofits that do the work every single day to support families in education. And so we're seeing a lot of those programs being crunched.
Well, the Trump account is for being born after this year, January 1st of this year through 2028. That's the $1,000 that goes in to the Trump account. But what's being set up is an IRA type account where you can contribute $5,000. It goes into an IRA. It can build, and the child has to be born before or after 2016. So it's for 10, like you said, 10-year-olds,
right?
Or younger.
10 or younger, and that's right. The Dell investment aligns with the administration's plan for $1,000 in the accounts for children born January 1st, 2025, and through December 31st, 2028. Those eligible for the Dell funds must be born before January 1st, 2025.
Correct. And the Dell funds, you can put money into it. It's like a savings program, but it's not just family, it's friends or universities or government programs or charity programs.
Yeah.
Anybody can contribute. So say you have a child, you have 2 children that are eligible for this, 1 4, 1 9.
Yes.
You could start saving for their college. It's just like an IRA. And once they get to be 18, it will have blossomed into hopefully a lot of money and can help defray those college costs. So it's just like a 529. Now, this whole thing is a little, first of all, you have to have a social security number. So you must be a child who is an American citizen. And secondly, it is for zip codes, and those zip codes have to be for families where the median income is $150,000 a year or below, which, $150,000 ain't bad. So it's not, I would say it's for lower to middle class families.
But I find it strange that it's done by zip code instead of like with income tax, how it's done by family value, family worth. Because
that may transition. It may transition to
that. But right now that's not. That what they're saying is by zip code. And so that's a little problematic, I think, in some ways. But I also think the problem is that because it's tied to the stock market as opposed to like U.S. savings bonds, where there is the money exchange is with the government. You're loaning the government money. They're guaranteeing a payback with a certain interest. Savings bonds were a big thing. I remember hearing about them when I was a kid and stuff. You don't hear about them that much anymore. And the return was not that vast on them, but it was guaranteed. Here, if the market crashes, depending on when you become eligible, when you need it after 18, it could be all different varying amounts of money depending on where we are in the economy at the time. There's a lot of uncertainty there. Also, what about fees? Who is getting interest while it is maturing? Where's the benefits
The fee
going?
is 1%.
Right, but
which is standard.
Yeah, but it really, I don't know. I would love, somebody in YouTube wrote it, I'd love to see the fine print.
Yeah.
But the fine print isn't out there yet.
Supposedly, after a period of time, you're going to be, because this doesn't really start until July of 2026.
Right. Correct.
And you can transition it into the broker of your choice. So if you have a Fidelity or a Vanguard or an Edward Jones account and you want to have them manage this.
As most low-income children have.
Well, start one,
That's my problem there.
Well, then go to Chase. They'll take your money.
The other aspect that I think we have to look at here is how there have been very few single charitable commitments in the past 25 years exceeding $1 billion. And, it was announced on Giving Tuesday. The Dells believe that this is the largest single private commitment made to U.S. children. And so the president is also saying that he's reaching out to other major financial heavy hitters to potentially see if this is something that they could get more private donations to.
Right. I think there is a Q&A on the Charles Schwab page.
Is there? Yeah.
And Charles Schwab has, I think you can have a free account there.
Okay.
So, somebody's got to manage the money. You can't just, you got to put it somewhere. Somebody's got to manage it. They have a right to make a living managing money. That's what people do.
And we do have a couple of YouTube comments coming in.
Before you read, I just want to clarify one thing, though. I'm talking about from the U.S. government's point of view. I think the Dells can do whatever they want with their money, and I support this is where they've decided. Yeah, I think that's great and wonderful because they're not cutting funds for other services. They are simply adding to our nation and doing a very noble thing, I think. So I just want to clarify that. Now, sorry, Celeste.
The only question I have, and I brought this up in our meeting, is if I help pay for your education, do I get to help decide what you learn?
Well, I think that's already going.
That is I've
always said
question.
that. There's always a Trojan horse.
Celeste, you're going to read some comments.
Yes. Alex Garza Photo says, let's look at the small print. I would dislike to see a clause that you have to be, name it, Christian, a certain race, etc. Charlie Parker, Texas says, yep, kids need money now, not in 18 years. They need to eat today, not in 18 years. Dallas Home says, the 529 can be rolled into an IRA. Trump account has lots of restrictions. I heard the eligibility would only be for families who make less than $150,000 a year. Frank mentioned that. And we also have a call. And if you would like to join the conversation, 713-440-8870. Let's go to Jan from Richmond. Jan, welcome to Hello Houston.
Hi there. I just wanted to say that I agree with some of the earlier comments that Ernie made. The problem I see with this is that it's really not serving the lower income families. There are a lot of people who have lost their supplements and need money now, but for the lower income folks, they are they need to contribute to the account in order for it to grow to any sizable amount. And a lot of people don't have that extra money to put $5,000 in a year to get it to a substantial amount. And so I think it's I applaud the Dells for making a contribution, but I think they put it in the wrong place, in my opinion. I think it could have served our community a whole lot better by supporting some of the nonprofits that lost their funding through these cuts, these Republican cuts.
Jen, thank you for your comments. I think also, though, when you look at $1,000 put in a savings account over 18 years is going to be something for someone. And for a lot of folks, they have nothing. And so that does benefit down the road. My problem, like what Jen is addressing too, is the fact that we have services right now that are being cut. This is the government part of it that bothers me. The Dell part of it, I think, is wonderful. I think if you are fortunate enough to be in the situation where the Dells are and a lot of other of these extremely wealthy families and philanthropic organizations, give as you want to help how you want. But when it comes to the government, we need to look at what's being cut to support this kind of investment.
Can you imagine what college is going to cost in 18 years?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, it's already a minimum of $40,000 a year.
Yes. Yeah.
And it goes up from there.
Easy. Oh, easy.
So
that's
we've
why
got
we
to
have
do
universities like the University of Houston.
Well, we have to do something, or nobody's going to be able to afford to go to college.
Yep.
Yes.
And I think this is a great first step. Will it be fine-tuned over the years? Of course.
And I think that's something that we look at often is we talk about low income, or we look at families like the Dell, and there is just a huge population of middle-class families that fall in this space of, well, we make good money.
But too much for a scholarship.
Too much for a scholarship, but I can't afford to have my lifestyle as well as, and I don't mean lifestyle like a luxury lifestyle. I mean, hitting just my bare minimum groceries, my home payment, my mortgage, my car payments, insurance. It is very pressing. There's a certain group that is being crunched.
Do either of you remember? It just happened. I just don't know where we're at with it. With Donald Trump's $2,000 to everybody, but it's everybody under $100,000 would get a check for $2,000. If I'm getting those numbers right, he was talking about that. But it makes me think about, what about the family that gets $101,000 a year? They're not eligible. So
I think that happens often.
Yeah, it's those cutoff lines that I always see as difficult. I mean, there has to be something that determines it, but
right. And I don't necessarily think that it's always been under the Trump administration. I think that this has been a problem that has been slowly ramping up with multiple presidential administrations.
Yeah.
We have to do something, or we're going to have an uneducated society.
Absolutely.
Which we already do in so many ways.
But I wonder...
Only 25% of people have college degrees in this country.
Well, what happened to the whole push about we should stop looking at higher education in college? That was a whole talking point for a while there, that people were getting these degrees and they don't need to. We should have more trade schools, more this, more that vocation. So it's interesting how
but even those cost money. And that's I haven't looked at this enough to know, where do you get to put the money? I mean, must you use it for college?
College, home, start of a business, I think, were the three major points that you can use the money for.
Well... So. I think it's great. I just think saving money is great. Dear Abby always said, the best thing that you can teach a child is how to live within their means. And if you teach a child that will set them for life. Mm-hmm. And we've got to get a handle on education, because these poor kids are coming out with an enormous debt load. Just to have an education for a $40,000 a year job, and they have $200,000 in debt.
Yes,
it's just absurd.
I think there's a group of millennials are seeing this constantly.
Constantly.
Food
and
for
maybe
thought.
This will help down the road. We can't always help the now, but we can help the future. That's all we have.
Yeah. Food for thought. Would we have our children in a better position if all of this money that the Trump administration wants to put into these savings accounts, if it all went into public schools today to fix, to teacher pay, resources, would those kids, when they graduate high school, be in a better position moving forward?
We've been doing that model for 100 years. It doesn't work.
And again, 713-440-8870. Coming up on Hello Houston, early voting for Houston City Council's at-large position for runoff has begun. And we'll let you hear from both candidates. This is News 88.7. Stay with us.
Hi, I'm Lenny Ambrose from St. Arnold Brewing Company, proud supporters of Houston Public Media. Right now, with your $60 donation, you can choose tickets to News and Brews. This member-exclusive event takes place February 17th. Enjoy a pint, connect with fellow NPR fans, and meet the Houston Public Media Newsroom in person. Select News and Brews tickets when you donate at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
It's coming up this afternoon at 2 o'clock.
Support comes from Houston Symphony, celebrating the season with joyful fanfares. Holiday Brass Spectacular. Join us for the music of the season, performed by the Symphony's Brass Ensemble, December 6th through 7th. Tickets at houstonsymphony.org.
The second sentence of the Declaration of Independence states, "We hold these truths to be self-evident." Is that still true today?
I think it's a mission statement, especially in these troubled times when we're about to have our 250th birthday and we become so divided.
Examining perhaps the most important sentence in American history. That's next time on Think.
You can hear it tonight at 10 o'clock.
My name is Michael Lawson, Houston Market President of St. Luke's Health, a member of Common Spirit Health. Access to quality information is vital for healthy communities to thrive. That's why St. Luke's Health is a proud supporter of Houston Public Media.
And now back to Hello Houston. Call now, 713-440-8870, or email us at talk@hellohouston.org to get your comment in on today's topics. Here's Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
Early voting for Houston City Council at-large position 4 runoff continues through December 9th with Election Day on November 13th. A few weeks back, both candidates appeared on Hello Houston, and with the election now in full swing, we wanted to revisit those conversations. Up first is attorney Alejandra Salinas. Back on November 13th, I asked her what she thinks she brings to the table.
Well, I can't promise to have all the solutions, but I think what makes me different from the field of 15 and the field of 2 that remain is that I've spent the last 20 years of my life taking on big fights and actually getting things done. I got my start organizing a walkout to protest an immigration bill that was going to be a threat to my community. We ended up turning that into an incredible forum where students got to speak for and against the bill. I became the first national Hispanic president of the College Democrats of America, where I organized young people around the country around President Obama and his historic legislation. And in the past almost decade, I've been a trial lawyer and partner at Sussman Godfrey, where I've taken on some of the biggest companies in the world, including being a part of the team to help secure a $1.5 billion settlement against Anthropic, one of the AI companies that was taking the work of authors all across this country. And I've represented Lina Hidalgo and Tanisha Hudspeth when the Republicans tried to overturn our election in 2022. We fought back and made sure that we secured the election. And I've represented students who were being kicked out of class just because of the style of their hair. We fought back and got those students into class. And in each of those fights, I've learned in politics and the law, it's a combination of advocacy and consensus building. It's understanding when to fight on the inside and the outside, but when to build that consensus. And it's going to take all of that to get things done. I recognize I will be one of 16 around the horseshoe. And the only way that I'm going to be able to deliver on some of these goals that we're trying to achieve is if I can get that consensus across the horseshoe. And so I want to take all the lessons I've learned, being at one of the best law firms in America, at being a national youth organizer, to make that difference for Houstonians. So I think that's what sets me apart from other candidates.
Well, you know, it's interesting that you're talking about consensus, and it sounds like absolutely, right? You have to get that buy-in and working together as a team, but we also have just some very basic logistics of roadblocks. For example, you're talking about public safety as one of the things that you heard as a concern, and we had Ken Neely from the police department on our show, and he basically said we are understaffed with our police department by 1,200. I mean, those are things that how are you going to essentially fill in those gaps through helping people?
Well, on law enforcement, I think it is incredible what HPD has had to do with such little resources. You know, we have, I think it's half or 3/4 of the police force that the city of Chicago has, with basically the same size city.
Right.
And so that is a huge commend. It's a recognition of what our law enforcement's been able to do with so little. But with the pay increases, what I have heard across the board is there's been a great surge in recruitment. So hopefully we'll have additional numbers to fill the support that they need to secure our city. But of course, the question to all of this comes back to the budget. How do we pay for it?
Correct.
And one of the things that I've been a big champion of, and one of the first things I want to put forth when I get elected to council, is doing more as a city to fight for grants. We do not have a dedicated grant writer in the Department of Public Works. Right now, there are different departments in the city that are applying for the same grants because there's not coordination across the city. This is a small, minuscule investment we can make in a few grant writers. We can use metrics, hold them to account, but make sure that if we're going to go ask the taxpayers to pay more money, we're also doing everything we can as a city to bring in additional revenue from alternative sources. And while we may have challenges bringing in money from the federal government, there's a lot of private partners out there that want to see the city do better. And so I want to fight for each of those dollars and be as creative as possible to bring in additional resources to help address that very issue and so many others that our city faces.
We were talking about the police, and earlier we were talking about Mayor Whitmire's comments about HPD cooperating with ICE. And a quote that Whitmire said, as reported by the Houston Chronicle, is, "I'm not going to say that we're cooperating with ICE because that's frankly not true." This quote's caused a bit of a backlash. Mario Castillo has threatened to withhold HPD overtime funding. What are your thoughts on this whole situation?
Well, I can say the issue is very personal for me. I have a relative, an American citizen, that was detained by ICE. He's okay, but it was a horrific experience, and one that I know many American citizens and frankly Latinos around this country are very nervous about. I have so many relatives that say they walk around now with their passport because they want to be prepared if that horrible thing happens. I think what we are seeing ICE do is frankly un-American. And we, as Latinos, as Houstonians, as Americans, need to stand up against it. And I'm glad that the mayor and the city is being more transparent with what is going on. And I recognize we are under very draconian limits that the state legislature and Greg Abbott have placed on Houston. But I think we need to figure out everything in our power to push back and protect the communities as much as we can under the letter of the law. And where the law is wrong, we need to fight back and bring litigation. I know a whole lot about that. And I hope to see the city partnering with the county and other cities, frankly, across the country to fight back in a meaningful and strategic way. But we have to protect our communities. I think law enforcement will be the first to tell you we are no safer when our local law enforcement is trying to enforce immigration laws. And so I recognize we're under limitations that the state has imposed on us, but in every opportunity we have to push back, we need to do so to protect our city.
So your understanding when we take the mayor's quote, which is, "I'm not going to say that we're not cooperating with ICE because that's frankly not true." So I'm taking that to read he is, and our police department is cooperating with ICE. If I'm reading that right, your feelings on HPD being used to aid ICE in what's happening. Am I reading this correctly, too, from where you sit?
As I understand what the police department is doing is, and I saw this when I was in the ride-along with the police officer, we didn't encounter someone who was undocumented, but he explained it to me. ICE has now put in all of their warrants into the system. So if someone gets pulled over and they search somebody's name, that warrant will now appear. Historically, that had not been the case. And they are obligated to call ICE to inform them we have just pulled someone over and their name has appeared. Now the question is, what more do we have to do, and do we have to make that phone call because it's not an Article 3 warrant? And so I would want to work with the city attorney and frankly use my own legal background and work with other legal scholars to figure out how far can we push that? Do we have to make the calls? Can we say if it's only an Article 3 warrant, do we have to make the call? Again, figuring out what the legal limitations are, and if we're stuck with it, let's file lawsuits and push back. Let's figure out ways to protect undocumented immigrants in schools and in hospitals. There is no reason why I should be in schools and hospitals. So figuring out what those lines are. But yes, there is state law that says we have to cooperate to some degree. Let's figure out what exactly those lines are and push back as much as we can to protect community.
Who currently makes the decision if you call in a level 3 warrant or whatever you called it? Who makes that decision at this point? Is it the mayor? Is it city council? Is it chief of police? Who sets the policy that if it's a level 3 warrant, it's called in?
Well, so I'm not saying it is the policy. Right now, if ICE has a warrant, which is not an Article 3 warrant, they are making those calls. And so the question is, what do we think we're legally allowed to do under state law?
Is determining what we are legally allowed to do?
I think that'd be a question for city council and the mayor. I'm obviously not currently on city council, but that is one of the first questions I would want to ask is, who's making the call as to what degree do we have to cooperate under state law. There's some degree of cooperation has to occur under state law. And so what is that cooperation that's required, and how can we fight back up until that point? And should we bring litigation to challenge the level of cooperation that we are required to do under state law?
Alejandra Salinas, one of two candidates taking part in the runoff for Houston City Council at-large position 4. The other candidate, former City Council member Dwight Boykins, also visited Hello Houston, joining guest host Doris Childress and myself on November 14th. And we asked, what issues would he tackle first if elected?
Infrastructure first, and that wasn't included. Housing is definitely important, but infrastructure. Now, let me tell you why. In 2011, I was on a committee with a group of engineers that created a program called Renew Houston. And we promised the voters, if it was passed, we would collect money. The system will collect money, place it in a lockbox, and have it designated only for projects to get street and drainage, potholes, all these issues with infrastructure under control. It was set up. Some of the money was not misused illegally, but misappropriated away from the charter that it was structured to be used for. It was a lawsuit took place, went through the courts. The courts agreed with the engineers that sued the program and said, look, City of Houston, pay the money back. And Mayor Whitmire gave him credit for this, agreeing with the working and compromising with the engineers to come up with a payment plan to put that money in a lockbox. The reason I'm saying that's the number one a settlement in a lockbox. The number one issue is because if we can get our streets drainage, it impacts flooding, quality of life in our city, and that's very important. However, we told the taxpayers we were going to protect that money, and as an at-large council member, I've talked to the mayor about this, and I told him I want to be considered like a semi-watchdog to make certain that that annual audit takes place and that we get these projects where we need them.
I guess when you talk about infrastructure and driving in general, one of the pet peeves that I've had over the past 10 years is driving back home. I'm from Acres Homes, everybody, the 4-4 as they call it. So driving back to my old community, and I'm about to lose my car on every stop because the potholes. And yes. I mean, it's just treacherous, and it's causing more car repairs. And you don't see that change after 10 years. How do you expect for the public to trust your word or the city's word on things like that in the future?
Thank you again, Doris. That's an excellent question. That's why it's so important. I mean, when I went in and talked to the mayor, I made it very clear what my initiative and what my goal is. I said within the first 30 days, I want to create an ad hoc committee to oversee this fund, to make certain with community residents on this committee, let me be clear about that, to make certain that this money is used properly. So your district council member receives up to $1 million in a council service district service fund, and they can use some of that money, Doris, to fix put panel replacements in, just to fix pots or squares of holes. But to reconstruct the entire street, you have to go into that fund, the Rebuild Houston, now called Moving Houston Forward Fund, to do that street. I can assure you, the billions of dollars that will be collected, we can get all our streets throughout this city within the next 15 to 20 years where we want them.
We are speaking with Dwight Boykins, who is running for Houston City Council at-large for position. Pop on those headphones because Miriam from Woodlands Heights is on the line and would love to talk to you. Miriam, what's on your mind today?
Hi, I have a question. So I listened to the opposing candidate.
Alejandra Salinas.
And something was Salinas, right? And something was said about her possibly wanting to initiate lawsuits to deal with some of the issues with ICE. And I listened to the mayor during city council and some of the council members, and they explained very, eloquently what was going on with ICE and how they're limited by what they can do. So my question to Mr. Boykins is, are you going to want to work with the mayor and the administration, or are you going to want to fight the mayor and the administration?
Before, and thank you for that question, and I'm going to let you answer it, but it folds into a question that we asked. I want to combine the two so you can get a complete answer. And what we were talking about, quote from Mayor Whitmire, it was reported by the Houston Chronicle. He said, I'm not going to say that we're not cooperating with ICE because that's frankly not true. The quote caused a bit of a backlash from City Council Mario Castillo, who had threatened to withhold HPD overtime. Add that into as you look at this issue.
Well, let me just say this. With regards to working with the mayor, I look forward to working with Mayor Whitmire. One thing I can say about him, from sitting on the back row right now, not sitting on council with him, is that I notice if he tends to tell you he's going to do something, he's going to do it. And that's all a council member wants, an effective council member wants. If, he dealt with the firefighters' pension. He took care of that. He's dealt with this Rebuild Houston infrastructure budget. He's taken care of that. He's talked about increasing removing the revenue cap to a point to bring in funding for first responders with the Texas legislature, where we have the revenue cap with the state. Working with a mayor like that, I look forward to it.
Okay.
And I think with regards to the immigration position, remember, he's a lawyer. I'm not. He's a lawyer, and he's careful with his words. And with regards to what ICE is doing, you have no idea of legal cases or being put together. You just don't know. And I'm sure I have not heard Mayor Whitmire's statement on that regarding that. I've read some of it. But with regards to what Councilmember Castile and the mayor is dealing with, I would not want to make a comment not knowing. But I can tell you this, as a council member, I look forward to work with not only the mayor, but the other 15 council members.
Do you have a thought on ICE and the cooperation with the Houston Police Department, or do you leave that to the mayor and the police department?
No, you work with them, but what you're going to find, and I do a little work in Washington, D.C., some federal appropriations work. You need to know all sides of it. You need to know if federal dollars are being constrained that the city needs for housing, for other programs to this. Not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying you got to look at the big picture when you make that decision. I think it's irresponsible for us to be using our police force when we're a shortage to take on something that I think is a federal issue. There are a lot of people in our city that are going through the proper process of becoming legal here in Houston, and I think we need to let that process take place. But to just pull people over because what they look like, hell, it could be me this evening.
Mm-hmm. So what does ideal interaction look like between HPD and ICE, in your opinion?
I really don't know, Doris. I don't want to guess on that because the way I operate, I go and meet with the
Because it
police
seems
chief.
like they have to. If you're in my city and we're governing the city, we've got to interact.
As
so
I
what does it look like?
understand,
Yeah.
and you can clarify this for me if I'm wrong on it, that in routine stops and reasons that people are pulled over by the police, when they run the plates, when they run the person's ID, it comes up that there's an ICE warrant for them, and therefore the police then notify ICE of it. And I guess the question comes into, should they be doing that? And that's the concern I think a lot of people have.
Yeah, and let me just say, regardless.
And if I'm wrong on that, please clarify.
No, what you just explained, though, if that's the process, if they pull over a person, not just a person that ICE has a warrant, anyone that have a warrant, you need to follow the law. That's just the bottom line with that. And I'm okay with that. But just pulling people over based on racial profiling and other issues, I'm not there. And I look forward to sit down and talk with the mayor and police chief once we're elected.
Yeah. That was Dwight Boykins, candidate for Houston City Council at-large position 4. He is currently in the runoff with Alejandra Salinas, who you heard right before we shared Boykins' comments.
You can find the full interviews with both candidates in our November 13th and 14th episode of Hello Houston, currently streaming on YouTube. Early voting for Houston City Council's at-large position 4 runoff is going on now through December 9th, and Election Day for this race is on December 13th. Coming up, a local venue has a new exhibit with glowing creatures and giant puppets. We'll find out about it next. Stay with us as Hello Houston continues.
We know you value Houston Public Media. That's why you're watching right now. So take the next step and become a new member of the station you rely on. Every gift makes a difference. And what matters most right now is supporting the station that brings you the news and information you rely on. It only takes a minute to make a big difference. So join as a new member today at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 800-364-8300.
Houston Matters is your essential daily guide to the people, places, issues, and ideas that define Greater Houston.
Vulnerable households that have less of a means to recover from a flood, have less money to do it, are concentrated in the highest flood risk neighborhoods.
There's never going to be a perfect moment to come out or reveal something about yourself. There's never going to be a perfect moment to call somebody you haven't spoken to in years. Don't wait for all the stars to align.
I'm Craig Cohen. Join us for the next Houston Matters, weekday mornings at 9 here on News 88.7.
This week in This American Life. If you can't get 7 cars in 12 days, you got to look yourself in the mirror and say, holy, what are you kidding me? A car dealership in Long Island tries to sell its monthly quota of cars, 129 cars. It's not going well. I want balloons in the showroom. I just don't want one balloon to a car. Balloon the whole freaking place so it looks like a circus. Will it work? Find out this week.
This American Life coming up tonight at 9.
I'm Jeremy Hobson. Next time on The Middle, the stock market may be near record levels, but unemployment is ticking up, interest rates remain high, and President Trump's tariffs have made consumer goods more expensive. Add to that the recently ended government shutdown and uncertainty about healthcare. We want to know about the state of your economy. That's next time on The Middle.
You can hear it tomorrow night at 8 o'clock.
And now back to Hello Houston. Comment on any of today's topics, call 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now here's Ernie Manous, Celestia Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
All right, I was given this next segment because I'm the only one that can pronounce Phenomenomaly. It's Meow Wolf's new interactive immersive. I looked at the website. It looks like so much fun. It transforms Houston's radio TAVE exhibition into a living, ever-evolving performance, sound, color, story, and a fancy name. If you'd like to experience it, I tell you, it's here through next month, and it's already started. It continues to go through, January the 4th. So a bit of time left. We want to welcome Connor Gray, Senior Public Relations Manager for Meow Wolf, and Alexandra Renzo, the Creative Director of Phenomenomaly. And I presume you can explain the name to me, Alexandra, but welcome to you both, Hello Houston.
Hi, thanks for having us. I'll do my best, but that's a hard one.
Yeah, it's just like fantasticabulous. It's one of those words. So tell us about it for people that, a lot of people are familiar with Meow Wolf. I mean, it's just a great experience. What makes this different than what they've seen there before?
Well, it changes every day. It's a wild, immersive performance. There's characters that enliven the space. There is a storyline you can follow. There are giant puppets. They're puppets. Who doesn't love puppets? There's all sorts of really fun things that you don't normally get to see every day in radio TAVE. And so it's this little glimpse into a different world, and we also partnered with a lot of fabulous members from the Houston community. So it's something magical a little bit, and it's exciting. It's all ages, and it's loud and fun and quirky.
Yeah, it's like Ernie.
Thanks. It's interesting, though, that you talk about how it's this different world. And in many ways, Meow Wolf is like stepping into a completely different world. How did you guys find the inspiration to make something fresh and new and different? And it changes every day.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think that Meow Wolf on its own is a completely different world, like you said. And Connor, jump in at any point, please. And what we decided to do at one point was we just said, this feels like a world that should be inhabited, right? It should be inhabited by different types of people or characters or storylines. And just the same as you and I, our lives change daily. Why wouldn't we have something exciting take place that changes? And so that was sort of the impetus, the little seed for this creative endeavor that we decided we wanted to put into our exhibitions. And I know Connor can talk a little bit more about that too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the ideas that Houston kind of inspired us to bring forth is kind of like how we got to where we are now. I think you kind of hit on it, but we're an immersive space, right? And people are interacting with different artworks and sculptures all the time. So this is a whole different level where people are interacting with live characters at the same time too. So when you come in as a guest, you're also part of the storyline. You're interacting with these guests in live time who are giving you feedback and giving you different directions and new ways to explore our space. So we're always adding these new different additions into Meow Wolf to give you a new reason to come visit, but also it's just a new opportunity to have some fun during the break.
Connor, I want to take you a step back in this whole conversation because I've heard a lot about Meow Wolf. I had the opportunity to go and see it. It was beyond what I expected it to be from the descriptions I had heard. How do you describe to someone who has no idea what Meow Wolf is to begin with? Because at first I thought, oh, it's going to be a gallery with some quirky art. Oh, was I wrong?
I think there's not really a wrong way to explain what Meow Wolf is, right? I like to describe us as a choose your own adventure art museum, right? So there's any kind of way that you want to explore and see art in a completely different way. We want our guests to come and explore and leave creative and inspired. So as guests come and walk around, they'll see artists that contributed all across Houston. They'll see hyper interactive sounds and different radio moments throughout the space. We are called Radio Tave, which is fantastic that we're interviewing with y'all because it kind of feels like we're in Radio Tave right now. We actually have live little radio stations inside our exhibition that guests can interact with too. So we'll have to bring you all out to come explore it sometime.
Well, it's immersive, and also you have to go back multiple times. There's so much, there's no way you can wander through it one day and think you've seen it.
I've been there since day one, and I'm still finding new things every single time I visit. They hide a new thing in all the time, and we're always introducing new moments of artwork and new moments of interactivity too. So there's always a thing to see, a thing to interact with, a thing to poke. So always come back.
I want to do a little nuts and bolts. It looks like this is a weekend event that we can see a Phenomenomaly. See, I'm the only one that said it the whole interview.
Just wait. I'll say it. I have to say
I'm avoiding it.
So it's
we will be having this event every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday through January 4th. So guests can book their tickets online at meowwolf.com/Houston. And when they come online, they can just select the time slot. So the time ranges for our show in particular is from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. And during that time, that show runs concurrently. So if you miss the first show at the beginning of the day, it will reset and you'll be able to interact with those guests. And every single weekend, we have a different local artist that is able to introduce their work inside the space too. So for instance, this weekend, we have the Hot City Brass Band that will be coming in. So if you've never seen a big band before, if you'd like to see it in a completely different dimension, now is your chance.
So if you go, so if you got one, I mean, is it a 45-minute event, an hour event? How does that work? I'm trying to get an idea of what guests should expect when they get there.
Yeah, it's about a 45-minute event. I will say, though, that if you come at any point in time, you'll catch something. It's going to be the way that I would think about it. There's no necessarily like, there's no definitive beginning, middle, and end. There's a 45-minute experience, but if you come when that little window of time isn't happening, you're still going to experience something. And because of the live audience, the shows change. So we have people come back repeatedly and see different shows because each show feels so different.
Now, Connor or Alexandra, I'm not sure if either of you can answer this question, but we did get a YouTube question that said, I'd like to know how the name Meow Wolf came about. Can y'all tell us a little bit about that?
Of course. I mean, that we are a very unique name. And the way our lore goes is that one day our founders were throwing names in a hat and they were drawing names from it. And the first two words that they drew was meow and then wolf. So who knows what we could have been, but luck had it. So that's how we got here.
Well, it is so beyond. I think even talking about it, people still don't understand what it is because, yes, it's immersive. But this is massively immersive. How many square feet is the exhibit?
And where is it? Where is Meow Wolf located?
Yeah, so we're located over in 5th Ward, right outside of downtown. And we're about 29,000 square feet. That's a bit of a rough estimate if you want to include like our gift store or any kind of interactive portions. And then the exhibition itself is a fully immersive space, right? So when you come in, you're seeing interactive artwork, you're seeing different sculptures, you're seeing different interactive moments that you can play around with. But you start out in an old school radio station. So you kind of start to learn the story of Radio Tave there. And then there's so many different points of interactivity. We include a full restaurant and bar space called Cowboy Heaven as well. So if you're looking for a little recharge when you're chasing a couple flicker worms through outer space, it is the best spot to do it at.
How's the parking?
Great. We have it's a gated parking, so you just come in for the amount of time that you want to stay, and then leave when you want to leave. So you're good for parking.
Alexandra, you gave an air kiss to the bar restaurant setup.
Cowboy Heaven is so much fun. And again, you honestly just have to come. You have to experience it to really know what we're talking about. It's called Cowboy Heaven, for goodness sakes. It's an ode and a relic to the past. It was created by one of our artists, creative directors, Colby Wilson. And it's just fun. It's fun. And I think right now everyone's looking for a little bit of joy. And that's what this whole experience, Meow Wolf, Phenomenomaly, Cowboy Heaven, it's a little nugget of joy.
You talked about Phenomenomaly being Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Is Meow Wolf open every day or just those days?
We are open every single day. And like I said, guests can select what day they'd like to come visit, and they just have to select the time slot, but they can stay as long as they want. So you can come pick your ticket. We offer for all ages, so it's a great opportunity. And we offer special events throughout the year that include adult nights, more family-friendly events, and live concerts. So be sure to keep an eye on our calendar.
Well, really quickly before I let you go, it's made up of a whole bunch of these exhibits as we've been talking about, but there a good mix of local artists are in here that each got spaces to do it. How did you select who's there? How do we know who's done what work?
Yeah, of course. So for guests that are curious about our artwork, we do have a full credits page online, and we also offer a Meow Wolf app that will kind of give you more details about all the work that you see. But our location features over 40 Texas artists that all contributed in different ways. And the vast majority of those artists are all from Houston. We have a number even from Fifth Ward, including L. Franco Lee II, and also Lock Wynn, and several other artists that are all across Houston itself. And we partnered and worked with Gonzo247, who is our artist liaison on site, who is a matissimo of artistry here in Houston, and was really good at helping select and curate the perfect community of artists that really represent Houston as a whole.
So we've had we don't really talk about cost of tickets on this show, but I did look at your website and I found them reasonable. So people are asking how much this costs. I thought it varies, but I think it's pretty reasonable cost, especially at Christmas when you're looking for something to do with the family. So it's pretty easy to go online. You have a really great website, easy to navigate.
Perfect. And the best part too is that for Phenomenomaly, that is included in the ticket. So when you buy a ticket to our exhibition just to explore, you're also getting all of those events that are coming on with it. So when you come inside, you'll get to experience all of Phenomenomaly and be able to stay as long as you want. So you'll be able to see, honestly, as many shows as you want too.
Well, not to be forward, but I love the sweater you're wearing. Where did you get it?
Thank you very much. Yeah, gotta keep a smiling face on.
Very cool. Very cool.
Connor Gray is the Senior Public Relations Manager for Meow Wolf. Alexandra Renzo is the Creative Director of Phenomenomaly.
Yay,
did you get that?
You got it.
I got
Let's all say it.
it.
Let's all say it at once. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Phenomenally.
Got it. Connor, Alexandra, thank you both for joining us today on Hello Houston. Performances for Phenomenomaly in Houston are available on select dates through Sunday, January 4th.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Yeah. Well, as fun a name as Phenomenomaly is, we're trying to come up with a name for our YouTubers.
Tell us, Ernie.
So we're going to put up a poll of some of the suggestions we have gotten. And if you are one of the group that's there in the chat group, you can vote. If you're not, come visit us over on YouTube and pick a name for this group so we can refer to you as a group of something.
Okay.
Like YouTube-a-doobly.
That was actually really great. The Hello Hooligans.
The Hello Hooligans.
The Howdies.
I still like the Hellsters, but nobody agrees with me.
But
well, we'll see what they think.
We'll end the next hour. Coming up, we'll continue diving into today's top stories. We're also going to discuss a new study that maps out Houston's mental health deserts. Stay with us for the second hour of Hello Houston.
Stay tuned. There's more Hello Houston on the way with Ernie Manous, Celestia Sherman, and Frank Billingsley. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at HoustonPublicMedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
On All Things Considered, you get the big stories,
What are you hearing from sources inside the agency?
the pressing questions,
Congressman, how do you respond to that?
and moments of joy to keep you going.
It took me a few days. I perfected it.
Really? Can I hear that?
End your day on a high note with All Things Considered from NPR News.
Weekdays beginning at 3 p.m. on News 88.7.
Support comes from the law firm McFarland PLLC, eminent domain attorneys focused exclusively on representing landowners against the government's taking of private property for public use across the state of Texas. More at McFarlandPLLC.com. Slight chance of showers this afternoon. We'll get up to near 64, and tonight rain moves in, a 90% chance, a low 56. This is your NPR station, KUHF, Houston. News 88.7, a service of the University of Houston.
Just ahead on this hour of Hello Houston, the City of Houston is bringing in crews from a national debris hauling contractor to help clear the heavy trash that is piled up after months of delays. We'll discuss this and more as we continue diving into today's top stories. I'm Frank Billingsley.
And I'm Celeste Diaz-Sherman. We'll also talk about a new University of Houston study shining a spotlight on Houston's mental health deserts.
And I'm Ernie Manous. We'll be joined by Matthew Loden, Dean of the Shepherd School of Music, as they celebrate the school's 50th anniversary.
And we want to hear from you. Give us a call or send us a text at 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. And don't forget, you can watch us live on YouTube by going to houstonpublicmedia.org.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. A day after President Trump disparaged the nation of Somalia with words like stinks and garbage, Somali Prime Minister Hamza Abdi Barre says it's better not to respond. This is part of what President Trump told reporters at a cabinet meeting yesterday about Somali immigrants in the United States.
I don't want them in our country, I'll be honest with you. Okay? Somebody would say, oh, that's not politically correct. I don't care. I don't want them in our country.
In Somalia, long considered a key U.S. ally in the fight against the al-Shabaab terrorist group, officials are facing public pressure at home and abroad to call out Trump. The U.S. president acknowledges he has leveled similar remarks against other countries, but his rhetoric has repeatedly turned back to the Somali immigrant community, especially one of his most vocal critics in Congress, Representative Ilhan Omar. And now officials in Minneapolis and St. Paul, home to the largest Somali community in the U.S., are reacting with concern to reports of a planned immigration crackdown in their communities. New Orleans is the latest target of the administration's crackdown on illegal immigration. Mel Bridges with member station WWNO reports Customs and Border Patrol officers are now arriving in the city.
The Department of Homeland Security says it's sending federal agents to address, quote, criminal illegal aliens roaming free, and says local authorities are not cooperating with U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. The Orleans Parish Sheriff's Office is under a federal consent decree which prohibits them from holding people suspected of being in the country illegally beyond their release date. The FBI and Louisiana State Police have rolled out a joint effort to prevent citizens from interfering with federal immigration officers. Other Democratic-led cities like Washington, D.C., Chicago, and Charlotte have also seen major immigration enforcement efforts. For NPR News, I'm Mel Bridges.
U.S.-Russia negotiations in Moscow aimed at ending the war in Ukraine wrapped up yesterday without significant progress. But, as NPR's Eleanor Beardsley tells us, the Ukrainian negotiating team is preparing to meet with Trump's envoys soon.
President Volodymyr Zelensky says his negotiators are in Brussels to brief the Europeans on the U.S.-Russia talks. Then they will prepare for their meeting with U.S. officials. Russian President Vladimir Putin accused the Europeans of trying to thwart President Trump's peace deal by changing the draft proposal to make it unacceptable for Russia. As the talks took place in Moscow, Zelensky addressed the Irish parliament, saying Europe must keep the pressure on Putin.
So that Russia does not believe it will be rewarded for this war with stolen Ukrainian land or 1,000 kidnapped Ukrainian children.
Analysts say the sides remain too far apart to conclude a peace deal. Eleanor Beardsley, NPR News, Kyiv.
U.S. stocks are trading higher this hour, with the Dow Jones Industrial Average now up 372 points, or more than 0.75%. It's NPR.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Alexandra Hart. The ACLU of Texas has filed a third lawsuit challenging the constitutionality of hanging the Ten Commandments in public schools. Texas Public Radio education reporter Camille Phillips tells us this lawsuit is a class action case.
2 federal district judges in 2 separate cases have already ruled that the school districts named in their lawsuits can't display the Ten Commandments. The ACLU maintains that the rulings should apply to all Texas school districts, but the Attorney General's office has sued school districts that aren't named in the lawsuits but haven't hung the posters. The goal of the new class action lawsuit is to cover all school districts in the state. It's brought by 18 Texas families. The first named defendant is Schertz-Cibolo Universal City ISD in the San Antonio area, but there are also defendants in the North Texas, Austin, and Houston areas. I'm Camille Phillips in San Antonio.
One of the earlier lawsuits is scheduled to be heard by a federal appeals court in January. A congressional seat currently held by a Texas Republican who announced his retirement last month is likely going to be held by another Republican. That's according to Renee Cross at the University of Houston's Hobby School of Public Affairs. Troy Nails is the former Fort Bend County Sheriff, now representing Texas's 22nd Congressional District. Cross says several candidates are in the running.
Who it'll be, we'll see. We've already got Rebecca Clark, who is a Republican geophysicist. J.C. Chaton, which is a former state representative, looks like he's going to jump in. So it'll certainly be a lively race.
Cross is a guest on Houston Matters. Nails endorsed his brother, Trevor, for the post. When the federal government shutdown ended last month, legislation made its way through Congress that included an effective ban on hemp-derived products containing THC. If this will have an effect on you or your family, positive or negative, we want to hear from you. Go to houstonpublicmedia.org/news tips and share your thoughts with us. Your message could be used in a news story as we continue coverage on the issue. I'm Alexandra Hart, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Progressive Insurance with Snapshot, which monitors safe driving habits to determine a personalized rate at Progressive.com. Not available in California or from all agents. This is NPR.
Live from Houston Public Media and News 88.7, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now, Hello Houston with Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
Welcome back to the second hour of Hello Houston. We're glad you're here joining us, whether you're listening on 88.7 or you're joining us on YouTube. Sorry, both of you guys looked at me like...
No, but it's funny you say that. I have a friend in Atlanta who's in hospital, and he's watching us on YouTube.
Hi, friend in Atlanta.
Send me a picture.
Yeah. You can also
hello, Mark.
You can always download. We have a podcast of the show every day that comes out. We also have a commuter cut, which is a little shortened version of the show. So if you've got like a 40-minute commute or something each day when you're going home, pop us in. We'll take you home.
Yeah.
We won't tuck you in, but we'll take you home. And we could have lunch with you every day. Speaking of lunch, the poll is up for some ideas of what we should call the YouTube folk. My suggestion wasn't there, so I've added it in the chat.
The Hellsters was not there.
The Hellsters.
You know, hello, Houston. It's like Lady Gaga with her little monsters.
See, the Hellsters make us sound rowdy.
Yes, it does.
I wanted the Howdy Hughes.
The Howdy Hughes is a little too...
It's a little too. It's a little.
Please, we're
howdy
hello.
Doody. It's a howdy doody.
We're hello,
howdy
Houston. Howdy, Hugh.
No, I like the lunch bunch. It's kind of like normal.
I like.
It's not really
lunch
original.
bunch.
The lunch bunch, because I mean, doesn't every woman's group have a lunch bunch?
Yes, ladies who lunch.
My British computer guy says his suggestion wasn't up either. So I feel your pain, but he also likes lunch bunch. So there you have it.
Well, I think what we need to do is take Hello Houston on the road and go have lunch out in different places so people can join us.
Every Friday we should be at a different restaurant.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just got a thumbs up from Jimbo. So.
Do we have an expense account for that?
Because
or
we're all
we
just hungry.
Because usually we're starving.
We got Chris Shepard to give us a tour.
Hello, Hooligans.
I love his show. He has great
Shepard?
shows.
Yeah.
Chris Shepard, yeah.
Hello, Hooligans. I like that.
Hello, Hooligans?
Yeah.
How's that far from Hellsters? Hellosters?
It wasn't your pick.
Wasn't my pick.
That's how it was different from it.
Houstonians. The Houstonians.
The Houstonians.
How about
MK
this?
Ultra
I got it.
6911.
I got it. The speakeasies.
Ah.
So, hello, Houston.
The Hi Guys.
The Hugh-tubers.
The Who-tubers.
The Hi Guys.
Hugh for Houston. Hugh instead of you. Hugh-tubers.
I like the Hello Houstonians.
But then that's almost as long as saying, the whole point of
Okay,
it's
I
got
don't
to
think
be
we're there
short.
yet.
We're
and
not there
pithy.
yet. We're not there yet. Okay, we'll get there. But
Yeah,
you know
the
where,
Hugh-tubers.
do you know-
I like that.
Do you know where we are going?
To the headline.
Yeah, that's an open question for us.
Do you know I heard the newest term ever today, mental health deserts. I've never heard that before. We're going to talk about that.
We've heard of food deserts.
I've heard of a lot of
Yeah,
deserts, but I've never heard
that's
of a
an
mental
interesting
health
one.
desert. But there's a lot of them in Houston.
And we talked also about, you're right. We've talked about food deserts. We've talked about media deserts. We've also had conversations around financial deserts where there's not banking. Mental health deserts. We're going to talk about that coming up.
We're also going
Chakema
to
Carmack,
celebrate Shepherd School of Music 50th anniversary. So we'll be talking about that too coming up in the show. But as always, unless Frank, you got something big on the weather you need to remind us.
It's cold out there and raw, and it's going to be a fairly quiet one. But we have rain coming in tomorrow, and could see at least a few heavy showers as it moves through. But that should give way to a pretty nice weekend.
And that's what we want.
And that's
Always
what we
want a
all
good,
care
nice
about,
weekend.
right?
Yeah.
You know what else we want? We want our trash to be picked up.
She's trying to do better than her first segue in the first hour. And not as good, but a good one.
That would be Phenomenally.
And Houston is making changes starting today to help neighborhoods buried in trash. The city is bringing a national debris hauling contractor to help with the months-long heavy trash delays starting in southwest neighborhoods and moving north. This new support comes in addition to Houston's new heavy trash on-demand pilot program, which rolls out early next year as part of a broader effort to address the citywide delays. The program will start in District 1. And joining us now is Michael Adkison, Houston Public Media Reporter. Michael, welcome to Hello Houston.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
You're now a Hello Houston reporter.
Something like that, right?
Yes, you are now just a Hello Houston reporter.
If I can put my pitch in for what the name should be, what if you just switch the words around? It's Houston Hello.
Well, it's got to refer to the YouTubers.
Okay, never mind then. That's what I get for jumping in the
Houston
last
Helloers?
minute. Houston Helloers. There you go.
Houston Helloers. The Helloers.
The Helloers.
Helloers.
Or Hello Deck, like below deck.
Hello-
It could be Hello Deck. The Hello Deck.
All right, Michael, talk to us a little bit about what's going on with
You've been researching this.
Something like
trash
that.
pickup.
I know. I've been digging through the trash, if you might, but
You do deserve to be
Right,
here.
You really fit in, Michael.
Yeah, the trash problem is a big deal.
It's something that every Houstonian has to deal with. We talk a lot about the delays that are going on. I put my recycling out or my trash out, and then it turns out, it's not going to come until the next day. So it's something that it's such a minor part of Houstonians' lives, and yet it comes top of mind when there's a problem or there's trash is missed. There's piles of it, and not enough of it is picked up. So that's essentially what the city is planning on doing, is bringing in outside help to assist in getting trash picked up. And so they're turning to an outside firm. Ashbrit is the name of it. They've worked with them before, specifically after the severe weather of last year, Hurricane Beryl, to aid in getting all this
And
trash
the
picked
derecho.
up. Exactly, yes.
But, we had a contract. Sylvester Turner contracted with a group in 2023, a 3-year, $8 million contract that should have lasted through this year. And they should have been there to help do all of this. Do you have any idea what happened to that?
We don't at this point. We're still learning, a lot about this contract that's currently on. But this may have been an extension of that very contract. This is a $2 million extension.
$2 million?
Yes,
An
correct.
extension of the $8 million.
Yes.
For which they weren't doing their job.
That's, I'll leave it to you if that's what the wording that you want to use.
I put words in my own mouth all the time.
But yes, it is an extension of the contract that they were picking up, like I said, after the severe weather of last last year. And so this is, an effort to sort of just fill in the lapses. There's not really a specific reason why the trash is not getting picked up like we had with Hurricane Beryl, but this is just to help.
And that's exactly, I think, the question a lot of Houstonians have on their mind is, why is it just not getting picked up, Michael?
Right. And we hear so many different reasons or what could help. In fact, there's in the background of all this, there's another event tomorrow that's going to talk about whether or not Houston needs a solid waste tax that Environment Texas is hosting. So, it's one of those problems where a lot of people are, trying to suggest solutions, but there's not a clear answer. One of the factors that we've heard is there's just not enough manpower. There's not enough boots on the ground, people who are there to pick up the trash, which, hypothetically, this is going to help address by bringing in more manpower to aid in picking up garbage.
But taking back a little bit, is it that poor staffing they didn't anticipate? Did we suddenly have an influx with these storms and all that of the heavy trash? Have we seen that increase in the city and therefore the manpower was shortened?
I think it's all kind of a perfect storm. I don't have the data right in front of me to point exactly what the cause of this is, but I think it's one of those things where all these little factors, no single one pushed the city over the edge, but that everything has helped contribute to this problem. Staffing, labor, wages, storms, and then just, all of it sort of pun intended piled up, and now we've got this problem on our hand.
Just a quick Google search. Dallas, Austin, and San Antonio all have a trash tax. Mm-hmm. They're not cheap. I mean, they run around $40 a month, but we don't. So to your point about this discussion we're going to be having, I'm all for it, but I don't like trash.
And if you would like to join the conversation with us right now on Hello Houston, we're talking about Houston's new pilot program or the extension of a debris hauling contractor coming in to help pick up the backlog of trash. You can join us at 713-440-8870. Thomas from Montgomery is on the line. Thomas, welcome to Hello Houston.
Yeah, hello.
Hello.
I moved here from Bergen County, New Jersey, which about 10 or 15 years ago built an incinerator which burns garbage, which they pick up. All towns have garbage collections, and what's not recycled is taken to the incinerator and burned. And when they do that, they generate electricity, which they sell to the local utility, public service electric and gas. And I see no reason why Houston can't build an incinerator. It could run 24 hours a day, given how much garbage gets picked up. And there's no recycling down here, not in this area. You have to pay to have stuff recycled in this community. And I thought it's a possibility. Help get rid of the trash. Maybe it would empty some of the landfills. Who knows?
I agree with you. I don't know why we can't do something like that. We'd have to find a place for it and fund it. Any idea, Thomas? I don't know if you're still there. What something like that cost to build and to operate?
I have no idea. You have to call up somebody in Bergen County to the Bergen County Utility Authority to find out what the incinerator costs. Because I don't know. It pays for itself by. And it's located. It was not located near me. It was located in Carlstadt, which is in the southern part of the county. Bergen County's population is about 950,000. So you got 70 towns picking up garbage, and they all deliver various amounts to the incinerator. So I don't know what it costs.
Well, Thomas, I can see Michael's already on his computer looking stuff up, so we'll check into that. Thank you for your call. I'm curious right now for the city of Houston, where does all of our garbage, where does all of our trash go?
That's
Just
a good question.
Dumps?
And I can't say that I've dug in through quite a bit of the trash information, but I would assume that it's landfills, that it's dumps, that's where a lot of the trash
puns are on point.
I know, right?
It's like it happens on Hello Houston. So, and I think another question that often happens when we're looking at municipalities and how things are happening within our city that's unique to other cities and counties is that Harris County and Houston often overlap, I feel like, within who handles what. Do we know?
Oh, yeah.
Oftentimes we've heard, well, this area is the city's, but this area, the county, takes over. Michael, do we know anything about that?
Right. I honestly don't. I do have, I looked up how much an incinerator costs, and I'll
in case you want to buy one.
I'll kind of get into
is
that.
Is it a Black
with
Friday
the
sale by any chance?
That it is millions of dollars in order to really have an effective incinerator. That's according to noburn.org, which, focuses on waste incineration. They're researching that.
And you still got to get it there. You
Hey,
still
you
got
have
to
to
have
get it
these
there?
trucks that will pick it up and take it there, and that's one of the things we don't have right now.
And I would imagine there's also environmental regulation.
Exactly.
Pollution.
Yes.
There's all types of things. But let's go to the lines. Barbara from Oak Forest is on the line now. Barbara, welcome to Hello Houston.
Hi, good morning. I'm actually calling in to talk about my daughter who lives in Houston Heights, which is a really nice neighborhood. It's got a lot of new commercial things there, and parking is always at a premium there to get to these places. Now, my daughter lives on a residential street, and when she tries to put out trash for heavy trash pickup day, there is no way in the world you can keep people from parking in the front of her house to where the city can come, but they can't get to the trash that they need to pick up.
That's
and
a good point.
it's very frustrating, and there's it's always it goes that way almost all the time. And I just wondered if anybody had some suggestions that maybe she could help her.
Yeah, put it on the street.
Or
They
what I
park
would
in
do.
front of it.
Could
you
you
mean
put-
just drag it right out into the road?
Yeah, so people can't park there,
Yeah.
and then the city needs to come and get it.
Yeah, or you get fined.
Well, you know what? Then I would go to city council and
But
say I'm not paying this fine.
I think Barbara brings up a good point here is that there are so many different variables in
Yes.
this, and that the
Sure.
city is trying to find a way around it because obviously everyone's identifying that the problem is trash isn't getting picked up.
Right. And you think it's one of those things that, like I said, nobody thinks about it until it's an issue. And then when it's an issue,
It's an
issue. It's a major concern for people. I mean, not only the smell, the sight, but just the sanitary conditions that, when you have a bunch of garbage that's overflowing, it's gross. It's,
Yeah.
full of
And
bacteria.
it leads to more
things.
problems.
Yeah.
Michael Adkison is a Houston Public Media reporter. If you would like to check out more of his coverage, you can go to houstonpublicmedia.org. Michael, it's always a pleasure. Thank you for joining us today.
I'm always happy to be here. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Go pick up your trash now.
I will.
All right.
We had a couple of
Good,
YouTube
too.
comments, by
Yes.
the way. We had Earl Gray say, I bet it's air regulations that I guess won't allow
Mm-hmm.
an incinerator. And along that line, British Computer Guy said an incinerator would be terrible for the air quality. The other point I would make is that most likely it would be put in neighborhoods that are already facing challenges.
Yeah.
They're not going to put the incinerator in River Oaks, I can tell you
They're
that.
not?
No.
Why wouldn't they do that?
Because I would have to look at it from my high rise.
All right, moving along. Somebody else who is in the media, in the headlines these days, it's Harris County Judge Lina Hidalgo. On Monday, she announced that she and her husband, attorney David James, are separating, a decision she decided was unexpected but necessary. In a social media post, that's why we're talking about, she posted about it. Hidalgo said that their marriage, though full of love, has been tested by challenges, and that recent changes in their lives led them to this difficult conclusion. She noted the split came on their anniversary, their 1-year anniversary, and called the decision confident, though painful. Hidalgo emphasized that despite the separation, she and James continue to hold deep respect, love, and admiration for one another and plan to remain in close touch. The announcement brings a personal turn to what has been a highly public life and one defined by her historic role as the first woman and first Latina to serve as Harris County Judge. What are your thoughts on it? 713-440-8870. Celeste and I, when we first saw this story, were kind of left by, is it really anyone's business?
Nope.
No.
Well, they were together 10 years.
Right.
Yeah.
They've only been married one, but
It does strike
together.
me as sad
Yeah.
that it sounds like he broke up with her from what you were reading, even though she's putting a good face on it. But because women don't break up with a man, I don't think, on the anniversary. That's a very man kind of. I think it's a wrong thing to do. I don't think you should break up with people on your anniversary. But the pressure on the anniversary is to say, I love you, you're the best, I can't
This is
wait to
the
spend the
best
rest
year
of
our
best
life.
year of our lives. I hope for
Let's
another
keep it
100.
that way.
So it does. It's like, more breakups happen at Christmas time because of the pressure to buy a nice Christmas gift and be with your loved one at Christmas. And so people just ditch them before Christmas so they don't have to go through that.
I just think it's interesting that she posted about it. I mean, I
On
guess
social
maybe
media?
Yeah, when you're a public figure, you probably figure it's going to come out anyway, maybe own the story. She'd come out first and say something about it. And that's the only reason we're talking about it. She put it out in the public sphere so that people understand we weren't muckraking here. And it's sad, but I think she wanted people to know. Her wedding was so publicized in national magazines and all that stuff that I think she probably felt this is the proper closure on it.
Well, let's make it clear. She's a beautiful woman, and she's young, and she has her whole life ahead of her.
Right.
And he's a handsome man, and he's young, and he has his whole life ahead of him.
They'll hopefully find partners that they can continue to build if they want that. Some people are happy being single.
And they've said that they'll continue to stay in touch, and they continue to love each other. So, I wish her the best. It's been a tumultuous year for her. A lot has gone on and has been put in the focus.
We have a call from Nina from Bel Air. I don't know if it's on this particular subject, but Nina, welcome to Hello Houston.
Hi. I'm calling about the attention the media is spending on Lina Hidalgo and her personal life. Mm-hmm. I just find it fascinating that the media seems so fixated on the Latina who is not running for re-election and who has had mental struggles, mental illness that she has been quite open about, when we have a white male, quote, Christian nationalist, unquote, state attorney general who is a current Senate candidate who cheated on his wife openly and has defrauded the taxpayers, been federally indicted. I mean, this is just so wrong, the focus here.
She's the one that put it.
We need to pay attention to the candidate.
Nina, she's the one that put it out there. We're just commenting on the fact that it happened. We're not making any judgment about it. We wish them both the best. And we've made plenty of comments about Paxton.
I understand she put it out there, and probably because when people found out, there would have been a feeding frenzy if she hadn't let people know. Mm-hmm. But I think this has already burned through its 5 minutes of attention span, and we need to focus on the upcoming election and the very sketchy candidate who happens to be running.
Yeah, Nina, I don't disagree. I think that it's interesting how, it had its moment. I think Lina Hidalgo was put in a position where she had to make comment about that, or else, it would have been, why did you keep this a secret and things like that. So she's a public figure. She put it out there. We spent our 2 minutes of it on Hello Houston, so we can move right along.
Well, because marriage is a public thing, so is divorce. If they had never married, it was just they broke up, it probably wouldn't have been such a splash.
And let me tell you something. Breaking up, divorce, all of it is terrible. We wish them both the best. But again, if you would like to join the conversation, 713-440-8870. Greg from Kingwood is on the line. Greg, welcome to Hello Houston.
Hey, guys. Interesting subject. I'm just wondering how much of the pressure being put on public figures by death threats and the despicable, pro-violence environment that our president has passed on right down to the local level. And I wonder how much of that, though it's unsaid, but that's got to weigh heavily on all levels of public figures.
Yeah. Well, just in what she posted, she did say that she was tested by challenges. We don't know what those exactly are, but very much so. You can't imagine in this environment today that there isn't pressures on her. She was very public, and as Celeste was saying too, she stepped forward when she talked about her mental health issues in a very public way, in a very responsible way, and I think she should be honored for being open and clear with people in this community.
Fair enough. Coming up on Hello Houston, we're going to talk with Dr. Chakema Carmack about Houston's mental health deserts. This is News 88.7. Stay with us.
Hi, I'm Michael Schaefer. My partner Ellen and I have been proud supporters of public radio and TV for decades.
We really would be lost without our daily fix of unbiased national and local news, cultural programming, and great entertainment.
But with recent federal defunding, stations like Houston Public Media face real challenges.
Now's the time to step up.
Give now at houstonpublicmedia.org.
Thank you.
/donate or call 888-909-0887.
Midterms are less than a year away, and election officials across the country are already preparing for the possibility of interference by the Trump administration.
At this point, I think we're all just kind of used to, all right, what's the next crazy hairball thing that's going to pop up?
I'm Mary Louise Kelly. What election officials are watching for as midterms draw closer on All Things Considered from NPR News.
It's coming up today at 3 o'clock.
Support comes from SunnyPro, a Houston-based business advisory firm providing consulting solutions, specializing in mergers, acquisitions, divestitures, and valuations for exit planning. Details at sunnypro.com or follow at SunnyPro LLC.
Tonight on Houston Public Media TV 8, it's the documentary The Mustangs, America's Wild Horses. Travel America to places few people have been and see some of the 80,000 wild horses in our country. Tonight at 7 on TV 8.
Support comes from Discovery Green Conservancy and H-Town Holiday Lights by H-Town Frankie, a light display set to music and inspired by Houston's hip-hop culture, presented by PNC. More information at discoverygreen.com. Support comes from UT Health Houston, home to Dr. Mary Aitken, who is focused on keeping children safe from preventable injuries through research, education, and advocacy. More at uth.edu/manyfaces.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on any of today's topics, call 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now back to Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
A new study from the University of Houston is shining a spotlight on Houston's mental health deserts, the neighborhoods where access to counseling and psychological service is severely limited or non-existent. Researchers found that nearly half of the city's zip codes are considered distressed, and many have no licensed mental health providers at all. To tell us more, we welcome Dr. Chakema Carmack, senior author of the study and an associate professor in the University of Houston's Department of Psychological Health and Learning Science. She joins us to talk about the findings, what they reveal about inequalities in care, and the policy changes that could help close these gaps. Dr. Carmack, welcome to Hello Houston.
Thank you so much for having me.
So I have a first question, Dr. Carmack. What made you think, you know what, there is a real dearth of psychological and mental health in certain places, and I got to figure out where and perhaps why?
That is a great question and an interesting story. So my research partner, Dr. Damian Kelly, he does a lot of community work out in the community, front-facing community education work, workshops, etc., for the community. And, excuse me, just throughout his, adventures talking to the community, he realized that people are saying, well, I want mental health care. I want mental health help. I want therapy. Where do I go to get it? I don't, there are no clinics around, et cetera, et cetera. So we had this idea to see if that really holds true, if it's just a perception that, I don't know where to go because, maybe cultural reasons, other socioeconomic reasons, or is there a real dearth of mental health professionals in these areas? So we had the, great idea to just look at that geographically for the city of Houston. And we were a little surprised at the findings that there are many zip codes in Houston with 0 mental health professionals registered there.
Talk a little bit, if you can, about the concept of not having someone readily available and local to you, because I think people will think, well, we're a big city, there's lots of opportunities, and other zip codes just go somewhere else. Why is this important?
So this is important because it's an issue of access. Some of these communities, a lot of these distressed communities, so you have to kind of understand the community culture, less access to transportation, less access to safe spaces for play and safe spaces for exercise, those kind of things. So we really want to see these things in these distressed communities. There's a lot of reasons why you can't just go to the next adjacent zip code. The next adjacent zip code with medical health professionals for you may be inaccessible to you. Transportation issues, socioeconomic status issues, those type of things. And also, when we are thinking about these communities in Houston, your access should not be predicated on your zip code. Zip codes that do have access, more prosperous neighborhoods in Houston, more comfortable neighborhoods in Houston, even the mid-tier neighborhoods in Houston have this access. So why aren't our distressed communities having the same type of equitable access?
Good point.
Have you been able to, I don't know, get columns going of these places that don't have access are also higher crime areas? I mean, I'm going to guess they're more impoverished areas, but are there other kind of socioeconomic factors that absolutely correspond to the lack of mental health facilities?
I do believe so. So, excuse me, when we say distressed communities, this is a metric that is used by the Economic Innovation Group, who uses information from the U.S. Census. So these classifications that we give are already standardized, and they are standardized with respect to population composition, how many businesses are in the area, housing prices, economic turnover, socioeconomic status of the people in those neighborhoods. So these things are already factored into the label of a distressed community.
I want to take you back for just 1 second before we move forward, talking about them not being in zip codes. Also, the impact of lack of mental health care when you need it in a convenient place, why that's so important.
Absolutely. So as a community psychologist, we like to look into the community and have the community kind of, have their own empowerment and solve a lot of their own problems. There's a wealth of information, a wealth of expertise in these distressed communities. With mental health care, sometimes you need it now. Sometimes you want to see someone tomorrow. Sometimes you want to make an appointment for later. But having that access for certain type of mental health crises, even if it's just a daily thing you're going through, we have mental health crisis helplines. So some people may want to see an actual mental health professional. And also it goes with developing that relationship. When we talk about mental health care and you're getting professional mental health care from a psychologist or a licensed therapist, you want to develop a relationship for ongoing support, and that's needed in these communities.
And so, Dr. Carmack, you all have identified, you've gathered the data, you did the study, you've identified a real problem. What are the solutions moving forward, and where do those come from? Does that come from the community? Does that come from policy? What do you suggest needs to happen, and by who?
That is an excellent question, and you gave some great examples, all of the above. So I just want to state that this research is preliminary. It's descriptive in nature, meaning we're just describing what we see, that there's something here and we need to go deeper. We coined the term mental health deserts to parallel the idea of food deserts. There's a lot of factors that go into creating such a landscape in a place. So some things we're thinking about delving into is, well, what do the community want in terms of mental health care? Right now, we're working with Precinct 4 in Houston and in Harris County, Precinct 4, to kind of identify some of these issues with the people. We want to go into the community and we want to ask them, what do you need? What kind of services do you need? What would be more appropriate and accessible for you? So on one front, it's going into the community and learning what they really need. They are the experts of their lives, right? And then on the other hand, there is policy involved when it comes to access, when it comes to perhaps mental health professionals choosing to go into the place. Perhaps we need stipends the same way we do for for educational reasons in distressed communities, stipends to get psychologists and psychiatrists and all other mental health professionals to practice in these areas. That's one avenue. Looking at the policies of access is another avenue. What are the insurance policies regarding mental health care? Do those need to be kind of examined a little further, and thinking of avenues to increase presence of mental health professionals and the acceptance of mental health care in distressed communities in Harris County?
You know, we might also take a page out of the book of those communities that are geographically divorced from big cities. For instance, my parents lived in Helena, Arkansas. They had a cardiologist come every Wednesday. That was it. If you had a heart problem, you had to show up on Wednesday and see the cardiologist because they were geographically too far from Little Rock or from Memphis to have that on a daily basis. Maybe that's also a possible plan for these communities where you could have at least somebody show up on Mondays to help serve them. It wouldn't be an everyday thing, but it would be at least once a week. Has that been considered?
That is an excellent idea. And we have talked about that one as well. So you are on an excellent track there. Yes, the same way we have mobile clinics, and we have mobile clinics for certain, procedures that you need for health, those kind of things. Vaccination clinics. We have this for physical health. We need these same implements for mental health.
Yes.
That is an excellent idea. We've also talked about having PhD students to go into these communities so that they are familiar, so that they get that trauma-informed care to give to these distressed communities. That's an excellent idea.
We are speaking with Dr. Carmack about Houston's mental health deserts. If you would like to join the conversation, you can call or text 713-440-8870. We do have a call on the line. Barbara from the Heights. Welcome.
Yeah, hi. Can you guys hear me?
We can.
Yes, Baber, go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, what is your comment
great.
or question?
So, I had a comment. So, I'm actually helping this company with a go-to-market strategy, and the software provides targeted mental health services. So, you're talking about deserts and people not having access and people living in different zip codes. It solves the problem altogether. It's targeted mental health targeted case management for mental health, and it doesn't matter where you are. You get access. It's funded by Medicaid. Senate Bill 58 is part of it, and all your behavioral. It provides everything from assessment, diagnosis, treatment plans, follows the longitudinal study, and you can live anywhere. Rural communities, different parts of the city. The software is there, and the money for it is there. And the funny part is, most providers don't provide it because they don't get reimbursed by Medicaid because of all it has to be in compliance with TAC, which is a Texas Administrative Code. But
So, Barbara, let me just hold you right there for a second, just to clarify. So you're talking about online services, correct?
These are, online services where you can get counseling, and you know what target? I don't know if I'm sure your doctor knows what targeted case management is, but it will solve your problem. It's online, and it's a module. It's a software that manages everything, including behavioral health, and then the mental health side of it as well, external and internal.
Yeah, good point. Let's check with the doctor and see her reaction.
So that's an excellent idea, and it is helping in some spaces. However, when we talk about the distressed communities, there are access issues, internet services. Do you have internet? Most people, we would think, do, but we're not certain of that. And even with internet connections, bandwidths, those type of things may create barriers for the moment. In addition to that, a lot of our community members that we've talked to, just personally, anecdotally, they want to see someone. They want to see this visible in their community. They want to be able to establish a relationship and refer someone, a friend, a family member, to a professional. So, and then also, as the caller stated, there are Medicaid, Medicare insurance type issues that may prevent mental health professionals from taking that route in the first place. But online therapy is really good. We loved the explosion of online therapy during the pandemic. It was greatly needed, and it's still needed, and it's still appropriate for some, but not for all. And in my experience, not for the majority of, middle-aged Americans who want this mental health care in their communities.
Earlier, you used the word stipend. Are subsidies a possibility? I know in New Mexico, a lot of doctors get big subsidies to go and practice in New Mexico because it's hard to get doctors to come to New Mexico, especially specialists like neurosurgeons or dermatologists. So they make a lot of money, but they have to go to New Mexico. Is there any chance you could get subsidies to get mental health professionals to go to places they would not normally go?
We would love that. That is one of the ideas that we will be working on going forward. As I stated before, in addition to seeing what the people want, what the people really need in terms of the type of mental health professionals, is also how do we get, once we find that information out, how do we get the mental health professionals here? So we would love policies that direct mental health professionals to these places with subsidizing their costs and whatnot.
I don't know that I actually have exactly a question here, but more of a statement. I'm curious your reaction to it. We've been talking about different issues that face us in this community. One that comes up often is the criminal justice system and the lack of mental health care there. We talk about homelessness and the problem that it's treated as a crime instead of the mental health issues. And that possibly if access is in communities that need it more, we can stem the tide here before it gets to the point that it's getting at. Am I thinking of this too simply, or is that part of our way of looking at this holistically?
No. And thinking of it too simply, I would say, this is complex. What you just mentioned is a very complex idea. Being in social sciences and even just being in the world and paying attention, a lot of these things do create a cascade effect, right? The fact that the distress score includes all of these factors play a part. So yes, that is a very good observation. Putting mental health professionals in these places and getting people in these communities to access that care might deter those type of things, crime and, disillusion and just, hopelessness. We want everyone to live a healthy life.
Dr. Chakema Carmack is an associate professor in the University of Houston's Department of Psychological Health and Learning Science. Dr. Carmack, thank you so much for joining us today on Hello Houston.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you guys for having me.
Coming up on Hello Houston, we have a fabulous segment. Stay with us as Hello Houston continues.
It's not just your car. It's the one that brought your kids home from school, took you cross-country, held memories, laughter, even a few breakdowns. When it's time to let go, give your car a new purpose. Donate it and turn memories into meaningful support for this station. Plus, you'll enjoy free and easy pickup, potential tax benefits, and a simple donation process. Your gift supports the programs you and your family love. Donate today and help keep public media strong. Call or donate online.
You can listen to Marketplace coming up this evening. It's on at 6:30.
I want to make a movie about this.
The Arts Hour brings you film.
The themes in it are so far ahead of their time.
Books.
The detail is amazing.
Art.
There's all the personal stuff.
Theatre.
Lots of singing and dancing and colours.
Music.
The dance floor is made for dancing.
And everything in between.
I want it to be exciting.
That's the Arts Hour with me, Nikki Beatty.
I really identified with it.
From the BBC.
The Arts Hour, Friday nights at 9 on News 88.7.
Ellen Benninghoven and Dr. Michael Schaefer, proud sponsors of Houston Matters with Craig Cohen. Tune in Monday through Friday at 9 on News 88.7.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from listeners like you and from Houston Center for Contemporary Craft, presenting Holiday by Hand, featuring one-of-a-kind crafted objects, jewelry, ceramics, and other gifts. More at crafthouston.org.
Support comes from Galveston Historical Foundation, presenting the 52nd anniversary of Dickens on the Strand. Galveston's historic streets come alive once again with special events, entertainment, and holiday cheer. December 5th through the 7th, dickensonthestrand.org. Support comes from the Dan L. Duncan Comprehensive Cancer Center at Baylor St. Luke's Medical Center, offering comprehensive cancer care that is compassionate, personalized, and driven by clinical research. More at stlukeshealth.org/cancer.
And now back to Hello Houston. Join the conversation. Call now, 713-440-8870, or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now here's Ernie Manous, Celestia Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
This year marks the 50th anniversary of Shepherd School of Music at Rice University, a world-class conservatory that has become one of the nation's premier university-level music schools. From its founding in 1975 to today, the school has grown into a hub of orchestral, chamber, opera, and recital work, producing countless acclaimed musicians, offering a conservatory experience within a research university. Joining us now to reflect on that milestone and a look ahead is Matthew Loden, Dean of the Shepherd School of Music. Matthew, we're delighted you're here. Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's wonderful to be with you all today.
50 years.
It's a long time. It's a really long time.
Tell me. Getting old is not for sissies, let me tell you.
It's interesting because when we hear about, Shepherd School of Music, we think students and you think people that are learning, but truly the talent and the level of artistry that comes out of this school is incredible. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I do find on a daily basis is quite extraordinary. I have to kind of pinch myself every once in a while because what is normal for the Shepherd School is exceptional for most of the world.
Right.
And it's incredible to be able in a place where we have faculty that attract that kind of student so consistently. But what it means for us is that we tend to compete most directly with schools like the Juilliard School or the Curtis Institute in Philadelphia, where they've had a history of well over 100 years of attracting some of the finest students from around the world. And we're only 50 years old, so we're half as old. And oftentimes we're smaller, and we've been able to put together a series of programs that have really, I think, had a huge impact on the music industry, and we're really proud of that.
Is there a story to that? Like 50 years ago, that someone said, you know what? We've got to compete with Carnegie Mellon and Juilliard and all of these different schools that are, because Rice is known as you got to be really smart.
Right.
Academic.
Yeah, you don't think of it as you got to be really talented. But 50 years ago, somebody said, you know what, we're going to expand.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was talking to our provost about this, Amy Dimar, just a little while ago, that there was something in the water in the mid-'70s because the Jones School, the School of Engineering, and the Shepherd School were all created in the mid-'70s one way or another. So in 1975, we received an incredible gift from Sally Shepard Perkins, and in honor of her grandfather, Benjamin Shepard, who...
Is that like Shepherd Drive?
It's exactly like Shepherd Drive. She created a school of music, and Rice said, okay, well, this is great. Let's start a school of music. So we had 22 students matriculate in 1975, and they practiced in the basement of the laboratory buildings on the Rice campus. And it wasn't until 1991 that we built our first dedicated music school building, and that really helped to kind of spread our wings. And then, of course, when we opened up the Brockman Hall for Opera in 2022, that really completed the infrastructure that we really needed to do what we're doing now.
And you landed at Rice in 2021.
Yes.
So talk to us about what brought you to this program and why you felt inspired that you wanted to continue, because you've performed, you're a very talented musician, you've performed all over the world, you've mentored. So why did you land here?
And a Houstonian.
And a Houstonian. Yeah.
Don't bury the lead. You couldn't leave us. You couldn't leave us.
It's true. I left and I missed it, and I came back 20 years later, and it's been such an extraordinary ride to be back. The thing that attracted me to this position, really, it's the best music school leadership position in North America, hands down.
Why?
because it is the Shepherd School of Music is a part of Rice University. The resources that we have access to intellectually and financial are second to none. And the fact that Rice has decided with the faculty of the Shepherd School that we want to be small and we want to do what we do really well. And so we pay a lot of attention to avoiding things like mission creep, right? Where we don't run after the shiny new objects and we say, you know what, we've figured out how to teach orchestral training better than anybody else, operatic training better than anyone else, composition, musicology, piano, keyboard, and organ. And we're not doing more than that.
Do you, like a football coach, go to high schools and say, Mary, you can sing and you need to come to Rice and we're going to give you a scholarship.
Good old Mary.
You're going to be famous. You know, it's just like a coach does. Do you go scouting?
Oh, yeah, with my Nike endorsements in hand.
Maybe not quite that.
So we do actually, we have our faculty are incredibly adept at recruiting. And so they're recruiting all the time. They will travel to do that. But I have to tell you, it's easier to be a football, basketball coach than it is to do what we do.
Right.
Because when we have, basically, for instance, we have 8 oboe players in the entire School of Music. That's undergraduate and graduate.
Wow.
So when we have an opening or 2 openings, we only have 1 or 2 openings. So we're only going to take 1 or 2 oboe players from around the world each year. And so if we are populating orchestras and chamber ensembles and all of the things that you have to do at a music school, you have to be incredibly selective and there's no room for error. The margins are really narrow.
And so on average, how many applicants would you have for a position like or a role like that?
The oboe role.
The oboe.
First chair.
Oboist.
There's a lot of self-selectivity in the students that apply. Like the generally speaking, people that apply to the Shepherd School have already been studying an instrument since they were 3 years old or singing for, their whole lives, right? And so they know what they're getting into and they know what they want, which is a pre-professional training program. But we have, we will, for instance, last year I want to say that we listened to close to 1,200 audition tapes and selected 600 people to come and audition live on campus. And from that, we built a class of about 80 or 90 students. Wow.
Take me back a little bit here, and this may seem like a rather shallow or uninformed question.
Oh, those are the best ones.
All right, then here you go. In today's day and age, what we're looking at is the classical arts.
Yes.
You would wonder, where are these students with that love coming from? Our culture in general isn't fostering young children to be great opera singers, or am I mistaken in that?
It's interesting. You're not mistaken. I do think that that's sort of a societal impression that's out there, just anecdotally. The reality is there are more people listening to classical music now than ever in the history of the world.
Really?
How you define classical music, though, right? So if you think about every single movie you go to, if you think about every video game that you play, pretty much any kind of experience that you have on stage is often imbued one way or another with the classical arts.
But Jurassic Park.
Exactly.
Right.
Jurassic
Star
Park.
Wars, all of those.
Totally. The way that symphony orchestras make a lot of revenue these days is by playing to a film, right? And because people want to see the film, and it's extraordinary to see 100 amazing musicians on stage actually playing that soundtrack. So we have, certainly we have to pay attention to it. And the demographics are shifting. And the love of Beyonce and Vampire Weekend is always going to trump kind of what we do. But what we have found is, and we particularly found it last year, we had our 50th anniversary community day, which was open to families and all across the Houston area. And we did the first bilingual English and Spanish version of Peter and the Wolf.
Beautiful.
And we had well over 3,000 people come. And of those people that came, about 50% of them were new households. We'd never seen them before. They'd never come to the Rice campus or experienced music. And it's because they want to be a part of what's live.
Yes.
Before we run out of time, quick call from Joan in the museum district. For you, sir. Joan, what is your question?
Hi, Matthew. This is Joan, and I wanted to call attention to the fact that we are members, my husband and I are members of the Shepherd Society, which anyone can do, but it provides many opportunities. But one of the things that I learned just last year is that any student that comes into the music school has to meet the qualifications for being admitted to Rice first.
So you got to be smart and talented.
You've got to be, I've heard of professors in the music department who really wanted an oboe player, let's say, but that person didn't meet Rice's academic qualifications. And one other really quick thing that I would like to add, with no disparagement to the Houston Symphony whatsoever, when we have gone to performances of Shepherd School Orchestra, it is a joy to see musicians smiling while they are playing their instruments. It is a joy to see them be so joyful with what they're doing. So thank you, Matthew, for all you're doing.
That's lovely, Joan.
Thank you, Joan. And we did get a question on YouTube that says, my daughter wants to go there. Are there scholarships available?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, we have at our graduate level, the vast majority of our students are coming completely free. They don't pay tuition at all. And Rice University at the undergraduate level has one of the most generous tuition financial aid packages available out there.
And it says the concerts are mostly free and parking is easy.
That's
exactly.
right.
Couldn't be better, right?
Matthew Loden is the Dean of Rice University's Shepherd School of Music. Matthew, thank you for joining us today.
Pleasure to be here.
And before we go, we have an update on our YouTubers fam name, Hello Hooligans, 37%. The Lunch Bunch, 27%. The Howdies, 18%. The Hello Houstonians, 18%.
We're going to open this again.
We're going to reopen that poll. But we want to thank you for joining us today on Hello Houston. We have unfortunately run out of time, but don't worry, we'll be back tomorrow with more conversations. We'll chat with Houston-born singer-songwriter CJ Emmons about his upcoming one-man show at the Hobby Center. This is News 88.7. Have a great Wednesday.
Thanks for listening to Hello Houston. Join us every Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. to talk all things Houston. The Hello Houston production team includes Garrett Bowman, William Menjivar, Jen Altai, Todd Holslander, and Jim Kovacic. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at houstonpublicmedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
Houston Public Media is a service of the University of Houston and is supported with your gifts to the Houston Public Media Foundation. More